So today I will talk about contrasts and awareness. Awareness of contrasts. And how to use this as an approach to meditate. So what is contrast? Contrast is, very simply said, the end of one thing and the beginning of the next thing. It's one thing changing into another thing. Contrast is everything. Without contrast, reality would be impossible. Without contrast, existence would be simply a void, an abyss of nothingness. Now at the bottom of existence, this is what is. The void is the fundamental canvas of the entirety of existence, or the entirety of reality. This void is aware. But without contrasts, it could not be aware of anything. And so you could say it created contrast in order to be aware of something. And so everywhere you look, what you see is contrast. Everything you hear because of contrast. Everything you feel is contrast. Everything is, all the sensations you feel are contrasts. So by tuning your awareness into being acutely aware of all the contrasts going on right now, it will immediately put you directly in a meditational state. Because you cannot be completely aware of all the contrasts and still have a noisy mind. Because the noise in your mind would swallow that clean, crisp awareness. And you don't have to, start by trying to be aware of all the contrasts in your reality. That might just lead to kind of overload, and you will just start to think about something else. So begin by simply picking out one sense, one of your senses, to be aware of the contrast. Start, for example, by being aware of feeling the heat or coldness that your body exists in, the kind of temperature of the atmosphere around you. And then just stay aware of that feeling against your skin, you could say. And then when moving around in your apartment, walking from one room to the next, be completely aware of the feeling of the shift of temperature from, for example, the living room to the kitchen. Maybe the kitchen is a bit colder than the living room. and when you're going out. The contrast between the inside temperature and the outside temperature. The different moisture levels in the atmosphere. Be aware of the changing of these. It's at the point of contrast where the one thing ends and the other begins. That's where it's most easy to stay anchored. So if you are in an environment where the temperature is constant, there's no contrast really, then it's a bit more difficult to stay aware, because it just becomes flat. So use the shifting of these as the anchor points, and then keep being aware of them while they are constant. Another example is hearing. I love sound. Sound is very easy to use in order to meditate. I talked about using the sound as a meditation tool or method in the first meditation techniques video. And with the sound, it's very easy to notice contrasts. And it's very easy to notice it just by walking around in your own apartment. Let's say in your living room, you have a TV kind of buzzing. Your computer might be buzzing. You're hearing stuff from outside of the windows. And then when you walk into the kitchen, you might have the refrigerator and the freezer, which might have their own unique buzz. And then you might walk into the bathroom and it might be completely silent because nothing is buzzing. And then again, when you are walking from inside to outside, it will be a completely different sound atmosphere. And it's very easy to stay aware, just keeping the awareness on the changing sounds. And you can do the same with anything. Your emotions. 1 minute you're happy, the next minute, your loved one drops something on the floor and it breaks. And a lot of anger or frustration or whatever is welling up. And then to stay really present and aware of this changing, it will also help you not be sucked into the emotion. And you will stay as a witness, a bit detached, free from the bondage of those emotions, but still able to fully experience them. But because you keep the awareness on the shifting of emotions, the feel of the emotions will not make you crazy. It will be more interesting to kind of research, how does it really feel when I go from happy to sad? Or from sad to content. And then as you get used to keeping your awareness on different sense perceptions, contrasts, then start to mix them. Take both the contrast of the hearing and the contrast of temperatures. Start with rooting yourself right now into, okay, this is what I hear. And this is the temperature. Then slowly in the beginning, slowly walk and be completely aware of the slight changes just as you move from one location to the next, even if it's just a couple of meters. And then try moving about your apartment, being completely aware of both the sounds and the temperature, the changing of them. And then when you can do this and stay present and aware of the contrast, then walk outside. And then walk in again, and then outside again, keeping that awareness. And you will find that you are in the deepest meditation you have ever been. And when you can do this, then add another sense. Add the feeling of your feet touching the ground when you walk. That's a contrast, you know. Feet touching and then floating in the air and then touching again. That's a perfect contrast, and you can be aware of that no matter where you are. All of these you can be aware of no matter where you are, because you always have your senses. And if you lay down to meditate and you want to kind of blank out and disappear from this reality, then be aware of the contrast in your state. Be aware of the contrast in your mind. The contrast between thoughts being active and thoughts being gone. Then be aware of the contrast as all of this reality disappears slowly. And the void is uncovered. And then just stay aware of the void. So this is basically the awareness of contrasts meditation approach. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'm here to help, and enjoy.